Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Audit and Finance Committee 2026 Agency Budgets Review. Department heads, you will be asked a series of questions related to your budget information that you have pre-submitted to this committee for review. Please answer as completely as you can. However, if any answers to our questions require more than a brief explanation, you may indicate so and provide a more thorough response to the committee in writing. Also, in order to complete our examination of your budget, it may be necessary to forward you some additional questions after tonight's hearing. I will start with, let me give you a rundown for tonight. Tonight is social services, children, youth and families, veterans, health, mental health, aging, and the nursing home. I'll start with the attendance by our majority council.
Sure, Madam Chairman. Ms. Willingham?
Present.
Reedy?
Here.
Alex?
Present.
Camisso?
Here.
Malowitz?
Here.
Ray Joyce?
Here.
Lakakis? Here. Bergdorf is excused. Grimm?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. I'd like to go down this row right here, and those of you that are not members of the Audit and Finance Committee, please introduce yourself.
Well, first, Patrice Lockhart.
Bill Rickard, I'm Chair of Public Works, 17th Legislative District, City Coast.
Dennis Sweeney, District 29, Western Guild.
And our majority leader. Susan?
Susan Petto, District 5, Albany.
Tim Lane, District 14, Bonanz, and Waterville.
Ellen Rosano, District 24, Colony.
Susan Larillier, Legislative District 22, Latham Colony.
Could our chairs please announce themselves and which committee you're chair of?
I'm sorry, Ellen Rosano, Chair of the Social Service Committee.
And I'm also the chairperson of the Mass Transit Committee.
Right, Commissioner.
Sorry.
Senator Lakakis, personnel.
Okay.
Rejoice Health and Mental Health.
All right, so first up, we have social services and budget pages are 165 through 173 in your budget book. Are you ready, Commissioner?
I am. Good evening, Madam Chair, and legislative members of the Audit and Finance Committee, as well as other legislators. We're happy to be here tonight to talk about our proposed budget for 2026. My name is Aaron Stackles. I'm the Commissioner of the Albany County Department of Social Services, and I'm here with my Director of Accounts, which is Zachary Cementana. We are presenting for your consideration a 2026 budget appropriation of $153 million, of which $75 million is the New York State required Medicaid share. The remaining $78 million is for the operation of our state and federal mandated programs and services. The budget results in an overall appropriation increase of 0.7%, with a 0.6% increase in county share. This local share increase is driven by the Medicaid costs. As you all are aware, there are many proposed federal funding and policy changes that will have an impact on the entitlement programs that DSS is mandated to administer. There is uncertainty about what the final policy and funding will be in relation to many of the programs that we are working on. But the indication is that many of the changes will not impact us in 2026. It will impact us in 2027 and later. With that in mind, I have a few discussion points that I would like to touch upon that will be focused on the 2026 budget that I have submitted, and then if you have questions, we can kind of go from there. Hopefully some of my overview of what I'm talking about will answer some of your questions ahead of time. In our proposed budget, we have several personnel changes which are related to our ongoing analysis of our department staffing needs to assist us in meeting the state and federal mandates and serve our most vulnerable populations. We have requested several new eligibility-related positions for our Medicaid division, as well as some clerical positions, with the mandate that individuals who are receiving Medicaid will have to start work requirements to maintain their Medicaid eligibility. We've also had some title corrections and changes to reflect appropriate titles and responsibilities. And for our newly requested positions, which are the eligibility and clerical positions, we have converted existing positions so we can remain budget neutral. During the 24-25 calendar year, we closely evaluated the business needs of our agency, as well as the goals and job specifications of the staff in our child support division. That was one big change that we had, and we determined that we had a significant need to build in some redundancy in our operations for child support. We have a need for additional staff to be available to testify in family court on child support petitions and work with our county attorneys on child support matters, including negotiating agreements and settlement of pending child support matters. We worked with civil service to amend the job specifications for the senior child support investigator. There are currently 5 of those positions. We've asked for a change in the job specifications as well as a good faith effort. We're asking for an increase in the steps of the senior support investigator by $3,000, which is a 4.47% increase in their salary. So it's above the 3% standard increase. These are union positions. A memorandum of understanding was made with the union, and it has been established to amend their existing salary schedule within the union contract. There are salary increases for non-union staff that are aligned with contractual increases that union staff are scheduled to receive in 2026. Commissioner and deputy commissioner raises were related to retention of key staff. Like many employers, DSS continues to face workforce retention and recruitment challenges. As you can imagine, our staffing levels are critical for us to keep pace and forge through the amount of paperwork that we need to process every day. Civil Service is assisting us in recruiting for our entry-level positions, but many of our other vacancies are promotional opportunities which staff do not currently meet the promotional criteria for. They have to have at least 2 years worth of skill set and time in the position in order to be eligible for the promotional opportunities. We expect and anticipate that there will be many promotional opportunities available in the early months of 2026. We continue to fill positions every day. Most of the positions at DSS are client-facing, and the learning curve of the job is very significant. With this in mind, we are being more selective in our hiring process because we want to ensure staff understand the importance of their role, which includes interacting with some of our most vulnerable populations, and we want to maintain staff over the long term. I am very fortunate to have a workforce who have ideas that are helping us identify newer and more efficient ways to do our work while still complying with the regulations and mandates that are before us. Although we have a number of vacancies, we have strength and commitment in our current staff, and we continue to develop their skill set and knowledge so they can grow and build a career with the Department of Social Services. We will continue our recruitment and retention strategies to further build a thriving DSS team. There are some SNAP federal budget changes that we're going to be seeing in regards to a reduction in SNAP administrative reimbursement. This is federal reimbursement. The local share of a SNAP administration will decrease from 50% to 25%. So our revenue for that will reduce primarily starting in 2027. Because of the way the federal budget works, during the 2026 calendar year, in the last quarter, we will see an administrative decrease in revenue for SNAP, which will be about $196,000. So from October through December, we'll see $196,000 loss in federal revenue. In 2027, we will be facing a federal revenue loss of about $783,000. That's an estimation. Although the federal administrative reimbursement will decrease, the administrative burden will increase, especially with the implementation of the new able-bodied adult without dependents work requirement monitoring and management that will have to be starting effective November 3rd this year. I do want to make note that I'm sure there'll be questions about the current status of the SNAP benefits. So even though it has no budget impact for us, I think it's important for the legislature to know in case constituents ask. Due to the ongoing federal government shutdown and the resulting delay in approval and release of the federal funding, the November SNAP benefit issuance is currently unknown. New York State has no guidance on whether the November SNAP benefits will be available. At this time, we're continuing to accept and process applications and recertifications for SNAP benefits, even though the funding is on pause. At this time, New York is not able to backfill any of the federal funding with state dollars because of the costs and the policy implications. We are waiting more guidance and hope to have direction sometime early next week so we can start getting messaging out to SNAP recipients should the federal budget continue to be on pause. One of the things that we'll be having in 2026, the way that the SNAP benefits are calculated, once again, this is not a budget implication, but it is part of the federal budget policy planning that they're implementing, is there going to be a change in the way that the SNAP benefits are calculated. They're currently calculated on a thrifty food plan budget, which is one factor in calculating the SNAP benefits. The benefit adjustments are going to occur and they'll be calculated now based on the consumer price index. Right now, the thrifty food budget estimates about $6 per meal per household. That will be reduced down to $4 per meal per household. So individuals may see a decrease in their SNAP benefits in 2026. It could be delayed depending on whether the federal budget goes through soon. I want to talk a little bit about child care funding. It's been a hot topic over the last several months. We requested an additional $1 million in our child care funding based on our forecasted expenditures of approximately $13,800,000 for 2026. Our current spending is about $12,700,000 based on the provision of child care to about 14,322 children per month. Our Albany County Child Block Grant for 2026 is about $7,222,358, but we also currently have some rollover funding from past years that we're using to offset those expenditures. We do, as part of the child care block grant, every county has what they call maintenance of effort requirements. Regardless of how many kids, whether it's 1 or 1 million kids, we're required to pay $1 million maintenance of effort to the state each year in regards to the child care program. Right now, there are about 32 counties across New York State who have depleted all their child care funding allotment and have moved to either denying applications or gone to a wait list, with more leaning in that direction. Albany County does not have a funding deficit at this time for daycare, and we do not expect to have one for 2026 due to the rollover funding from the prior year. We continue to closely monitor our child care block grant expenditures monthly to ensure we have sufficient funding to maintain our current caseloads. Based on our projections, we feel we have plenty of funding for 2026. This may change if our rollover funding is somehow taken back in 2026, or there's rollover or increase in the child care block grant funding for future years. We'll continue to monitor that and keep everybody apprised of what's happening. Our ISIP funding remains flat for 2026. I know that has always been a question from the legislature each year. There continues to be a significant direct workforce shortage, so the demand for services is outpacing the supply of individuals who can provide the care that individuals need at home. And it doesn't matter whether it's ISIP, Medicaid, or private payer source. This is not unique to Albany County. It's a national issue that needs to be addressed. We continue to brainstorm with our Department for Aging on any creative solutions to provide services to help our older adults continue to age in place. Our safety net funding, we requested an increase of $600,000 in our safety net funding. These increases are due to increases in shelter expenses and shelter utilizations, as well as increased security in our shelter system. Our caseload continues to grow, as do the expenditures that it costs to shelter individuals that are homeless. Most of the safety net individuals that we have are single adults, but there are about 20% of our cases are families who have reached the maximum number of benefits they can get under the temporary assistance program. So we continue to monitor the number of individuals that are getting benefits and being sheltered under our safety net program. Currently, our shelters are consistently full, and with the lack of affordable housing and potential federal budget cuts to permanent supportive housing that are being proposed in the federal budget, our housing costs per shelter will most likely increase, probably not in 2026, but probably in out years in 2027 for sure. I also want to touch upon the fact that about HEAP. HEAP is not impacted in our budget. Most of the HEAP benefits that are administered or paid out go directly from the state to individuals at their vendor sources. It's not something that's built into our budget except for these one-time payments of $21 that are connected to people's rent. Right now, due to the ongoing federal government shutdown and resulting delay in the approval and release of federal funding, the opening date for the 25-26 HEAP regular benefit has been postponed until November 17th. This could be delayed further. We have not asked for any funding level increases because the money does not come out of our budget. Right now, the districts are continuing. Albany County is still taking early outreach applications and processing applications accordingly. The applications are on pause until the federal budget is passed, and from there, hopefully the benefits will be processed quickly. At this time, anybody who has an emergency utility shutoff or has an emergency utility need will have to apply for benefits through our public assistance funds. Under our public assistance funds, that falls in our emergency assistance program. And we have enough budgeted in our emergency assistance funds. Right now, we've budgeted $1.3 million to help with the payment of shelter arrears, payment of utility arrears, and any fuel and our cost of fuel delivery and temporary housing and shelter costs. So during the cooling months, we expect that if the federal budget is still not passed, that we'll see an increase in the number of individuals applying for emergency assistance for heat. But we believe that our budget can handle that, and we believe that we'll be prepared to maintain an accurate budget account or remove monies if necessary for that piece. As you all know, this is an unprecedented time for federal policy and funding changes, and there continue to be many unknowns and many levels, right? What I can tell you is that Albany County Department of Social Services is deeply committed to promoting the health and well-being of our residents. Each day, my staff deliver essential services that support vulnerable individuals and families, serving as a vital resource in the human service delivery system. We work very closely with many of our other county sister agencies in order to do that. Even in the face of the shifts in financial aid and administrative costs and the administrative responsibilities that we'll have to take on, we are committed to doing the work that we are mandated to do. We will to further strengthen our partnerships with non-traditional organizations to help meet the needs of our most vulnerable population, and we'll do the best we can each and every day. I am happy to answer any questions you may have that I didn't answer as part of my proposal.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Mr. Reedy.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Thank you, Commissioner. Can you talk about the duties of the new immigration coordinator position?
Yeah, so, we have a lot of audits that are happening by the state, which are being mandated by the federal government. So the immigration coordinator position was created because of the New York State audits. We have to have a more rigorous documentation requirement for individuals who are applying for benefits. So that would include refugees and other specialized populations where we have to determine their eligibility as to whether they'd be eligible for programs. The other piece of it is the fact that under the SNAP program, where federal policy changed, a lot of refugees and other people who are currently receiving benefits are going to be cut off the program because they'll no longer be eligible. The immigration coordinator will work very closely to help review the applications, make sure there's necessary documentation in place for our auditing purposes, and make sure that we determine the eligibility appropriately, and work very closely with our county immigration department, USCREEV, which is the immigration services unit that's located in Latham, and our legal service providers and link applicants and recipients with other community resources to ensure that they can remain stable and independent in the community.
How many people will this position serve?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Like how many, what was the size of that population that this?
I don't have the
coordinator will
exact
serve?
number, but I can get that for you.
Thank you. And this is on the page 167, everyone's budgets. There were certain titles. There's change to include the word homeless in them. Can you explain that?
Yeah, so we originally we got funding from the state for a family-centered case management program. We got some grant funding for that, and that is to work with individuals and families who are currently sheltered in our homeless system, who need really intensive case management to kind of move towards independence and self-sustainability. So we have evaluated the positions. We originally had different titles for that, and we determined that those would not be appropriate titles to use for those positions. So we ended up changing the client support specialist 2 to a homeless support coordinator. This role, really, as we see more homeless individuals and families, we need someone who can help oversee the casework team and really manage them to help to make sure that they're moving and doing the right case management steps to help individuals to link up with the appropriate resources and income sources that they can become independent. The homeless support coordinator will also work very closely in compiling the data that we're going to need in order to manage our reporting to New York State, and also help us evaluate and analyze how successful the family-centered case management program is going to be. In addition to this position working on the families, we want to also look at the single side, because that's a really significant part of our population who are homeless. And so we have a number of other case managers that we want to have that individual oversee and work with them as well to get some of our individuals into permanent housing and get them to be more self-sufficient as well. the other position that was also, there was a client support specialist 1 and a client support specialist 2. The homeless support specialist 1 is going to be a lower level supervisory position to also work with the coordinator to oversee, provide training and support to the caseworkers that are responsible for managing the caseloads that are going on with the homeless individuals and families.
Thank you.
Ms. Rosano, do you have any questions for the commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, on here, there's an item for legal fees and fees for services. Can you address that, the legal fees?
So legal fees, and I'll point to Zach about that too, because the legal fees that we have are fees that we use to, can you tell me what line you're looking at?
It's page 168 under contractual expenses. It is 44043.
It's $12,000.
So,
Right.
so but I think I have it here. So part of those costs go to, we purchase licenses to utilize for our fraud division to do investigations for welfare fraud. So there are a number of systems that we use in order to do our investigative process in order to look at any kind of fraud that's reported to our agency.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
All right. Mr. Grimm?
Thank you, Madam Chair. You said the total budget was 153 and Medicaid was 74? That's over half the entire budget.
That's correct.
There's so much talk about waste and fraud in Medicaid. How do we police that? Are there any non-citizens that are getting Medicaid funding? No. How do you detect that? How do you manage that?
So we follow regulatory processes, right? There's coding in the system that is a state system in order to determine who's eligible and not, and who's not eligible. So if someone is an immigrant or a refugee, you know, the specific codes are put in the system to determine whether or not they're going to be eligible. So there is this New York State Office of Medicaid Inspector General who's responsible for doing any Medicaid fraud initiatives to make sure that they're looking at cases and kind of evaluating what that looks like. So we work very closely with them to make sure that if there's any kind of instance that we feel like there is fraud and abuse happening, it gets reported to the Office of Medicaid Inspector General and we go through the investigation.
When they put the immigrants in the 2 hotels, you recall, was any county money or was that state money? When they housed those?
Oh, that was state money, that was not any money that came from the county.
I know there was controversy about how the state managed it, but that was not county money.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Do I have any more questions from the committee, from the legislators? Maggie,
No, I'm all set, thank you.
you all set?
Mhm.
Okay, are you sure?
Yep.
No, I'm not being funny. I'm just being sure. Okay, all right. Well, thank you very much. We really appreciate the presentation that you gave. It was very thorough, and I'll say good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
All right, our next presenter will be
Children.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
79.
Sure.
Thanks.
The budget for pages for children, youth, and families is found on pages 79 through 87 in your books. Good evening.
Good evening, Chairwoman Willingham and committee members. We're so pleased to be here this evening to talk about the 2026 budget for the Department for Children, Youth, and Families. And I really do want to thank the County Executive's Office and Management and Budget in really helping us make a strong budget proposal. With me this evening, I have our Assistant Director of Accounts, Rachel Sherman, I have our Deputy Commissioner, Nicole Ward, and our Director of Administrative Services, Wendy Meehan. And I really do, I'd be remiss if I didn't say how wonderful our staff are. They're dedicated employees, they work very hard, and serve our really most vulnerable children and families. And that includes our child protective services, foster care, our health home care management, our special needs division, and I do want to just say they go above and beyond and are, helping families every day to meet their needs and to keep children safe in the community. In our budget, we have added, actually in 2025, we've added 2 juvenile justice coordinators. These juvenile justice coordinators will be at family court, so they can collaborate and work closely not only with the family court personnel, but they will also work very closely with probation. We're seeing our numbers of juveniles, as I think you all know, the increase in violence in the community, and that, we're filling up our secure detention and our non-secure detention. So these individuals not only will be working with community agencies, but will really be monitoring what the needs are in non-secure and secure detention to ensure that they have the aftercare needs, that they will be successful when they return back to the community. The department also has 11 vacancies. We do have 5 of them which are caseworkers. And the reason for this at this point in time is many of our staff took promotional exams through civil service. And therefore, we're waiting for the exam results. And per the collective bargaining agreement, we have to have those vacant so they have basically bumping rights. Otherwise, we'd be laying off new caseworkers that we'd be getting. We're hopeful that those results will be in very shortly, and we can make these staff members permanent and then finish hiring the rest of the caseworkers. The department also, we're really thrilled, and this is really kudos. Last June, June of 24, I should say, we started the FAR program, which is Family Assessment Response. And it is really an alternative to the investigation. It's much more engaging with families and really trying to identify what that family has as their strengths, what supports they have, and how can we deliver services that will be most effective for them. And I'm really happy to say, since its inception, we have served over 1,115 families and prevented them from going into foster care. That is the ultimate goal, to really strengthen the parent functioning to assist their children and meet the children's needs. Unfortunately, sometimes when an investigation does happen, we do have to do removals, but we have done a cost savings really by training more foster parents. And so we actually have trained 7 foster families this year, and so we have up to 30 foster families that are available for our children that are removed. In addition, this past year, we have kinship. So if there's a relative that wants to take a child, we have certified 8 kinship foster care programs. So we're really happy with those numbers. And our numbers of children entering foster care continue to decrease. We're about at 172 right now, and that was, last year was over 220. So we're really making these strides, I think, not only by having foster homes, but also the FAR is much more engaging and much more effective intervention than a regular investigation. And again, with that, I would be remiss if I didn't say that certain cases can go to FAR. But if you're talking about severe physical abuse, sexual abuse, they would not go to FAR. They have to go through a full investigation. We continue to examine our spending. We do not know what the federal cuts will be to our department. However, as you have heard from DSS, if there's going to be issues with staff funding or housing, we're going to see an increase in child protective reports because, unfortunately, their basic needs will not be met. But at this point, any of our, agencies like New York Public Welfare Association, we do not have any idea of what the federal impact will be or the trickle down from the state to the counties. And some of the things that really come into factor our budget needs are that these are a lot of unfunded mandates that were mandated to provide these services. And the children that we're seeing that are entering foster care have significant complex needs. So the cost of finding an appropriate placement for them can be very astronomical. In addition, when the judges place children either in secure detention or non-secure detention, we have no control over those costs as well. That is set. And then our transportation costs for children in preschool education continues to rise as the number of children that are being served in early intervention or children with special needs, those numbers increase. And also finally the school districts. The school districts, if there's a CSE placement, a Committee on Special Education placement, we have to pay for the room and board while the school pays for, I should say the school district pays for the educational component of the program. But those are very costly programs as well. And so I'm here to answer any questions you may have. We got her.
Thanks, Madam Chair. And thank you, Commissioner. Can you talk about the juvenile justice position and what it entails?
Sure. So what I had indicated, basically they really want to coordinate and prevent children from further penetrating the family court system. What can we do on the front end rather than getting those children involved in probation or in the family court system? And so we really looking at preventing that. And one of the individuals will really be focused on, the data. We need to look at our data and what types of children are going into family court and how can we prevent. And the other individual will be doing a lot of community engagement and really identifying what are the service needs of these children. And we also have a youth advisory board, and that youth advisory board will be critical to really be the boots on the ground and know what services that youth would want to take part in. Is it a, kind of like a family resource center or activities that they would be involved in? And, being ready for career readiness.
Thank you.
All right. Ms. Rosano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a few questions, but they're mostly regarding the special needs children. The one on, it's 12168, the speech pathologist, and there's one. Does that person work for the county, or are they independent?
We have one speech pathologist that does work for the county. She's part of our evaluation team. So we have an evaluation team that consists of a special ed teacher, a occupational therapist, a physical therapist, and a speech therapist. So that's on the front end when people are entering the system. Then we actually have providers. It's either a center-based program or it's individual per diem providers that provide the direct service, such as speech or OT.
Last year, some of these therapists actually appeared before us at legislative meetings, and they were concerned about the pay, which I understand they did get a raise. I don't know if they're going to get another one this year, but they indicated that there was like a waiting list for children with special needs regarding physical therapy, occupational therapy, and speech therapy. Is that an accurate assessment, or?
Speech therapy, definitely, there is a delay. But I think in the other areas, we have enough providers at this point in time. But this isn't just Albany County. This is, across New York State.
And when does the school district come into play with these children with special needs?
They basically, it's the CPSE process, so Committee on Preschool Education. So we transition them when they're turning school age, gaining 5.
So everything continues then?
Correct. Well, it's based on what the school decides.
Yeah, I know. They're tough.
Yes.
But thank you.
Sure.
Mr. Demowitz.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Could you expand upon the work wellness program?
Sure. The work wellness program, we have a staff development coordinator who's been doing fantastic things, Andrea Colano, and she has brought things such as mindfulness, trainings. We've done yoga for, let's say, the 12-week session.
Is it 8-week?
8-week session. So staff really enjoyed that. In addition, she's also done the fish training, and that really is getting teamwork, really building up their strengths and working together as a team. And then finally, doing morale boosting activities, having an appreciation lunch for folks, bringing in donuts or just really identifying you're doing a special job. So I think having Andrea has really been an asset to us.
Great. Could you explain the increase, 800,000 increase in the fees for services for the service physically handicapped?
That would be, as, Ms. Rosano said, that, we need more providers, such as the speech and PT and OT, so that per diem, correct, is through.
It went up once last year and then again this past July. So it went from 58 to 61 for a whole bunch of
Who
providers.
sets those per diem rates? Who sets the rates?
Yes, we do.
We do.
And
Because
that's when they asked for a raise, so we gave them a $3 increment for the past, it was last June,
And then this July.
July.
that's the speech therapists who come before us, comparing us to other counties, and we're not at par levels with them.
They are, they're
We are.
above.
Are we closer to the par levels?
We're above.
We're above now? Good, great, good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Grimm.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like the stats, I like data, so I'm glad to hear your stats. But I'm concerned about youth crime, that seems to be growing. And it seems to me your role is to get these troubled kids that have had a tough time, to go in the right direction, the wrong direction. Do you keep stats on that? How many, went the right direction, how many went the wrong direction? I'd be curious.
I think, again, we can always do a better job in gathering data. We do contract with SUNY Albany Research that really looks at our juveniles going into family court as well as secure detention or non-secure detention. But I agree with what you say of, are they further penetrating the system? We do have stats from our preventive service programs, and they report on a monthly basis. So we would know, was there a CPS report? Was the child removed from the home? Was the child put in placement? Is probation involved? So we do have that on our prevention level.
Raise the age laws or state laws, how have they affected what you do?
Raise the age, there hasn't been a great.
It's a very small handful of youth because it's a specific age limit. So it's those 16, 17-year-olds. I mean, our system is we're seeing some crimes younger and younger. We can't touch that raise the age money with these, but we're really not a system about accountability. That's the court. That's probation and stuff. We're really here to wrap the families in services. So what we've done is, with the county executive's office, with probation, with the legislature, we instituted an RFP for a couple of juvenile justice programs. We contracted with Fourth Family, we contracted with Northern Rivers. We're implementing new programs with really agencies that we know have worked, which sometimes with an RFP system is really difficult. But fortunately, the ones that we know are working are the ones applying for programs. So we're really trying to get the kids younger. We're working with the school districts, we're working with the county executive's office, state legislators, probation on truancy, so that we can see, when these kids aren't in school and if they're out in the neighborhoods causing difficulty, what we can do. So we're trying to implement a whole bunch of preventative programs because we know it's cheaper if we catch them preventative. And we have a better chance of changing the trajectory if we get them when they're younger.
But you're seeing lower age kids committing crimes. Is that because the older ones know that they won't be prosecuted and they make them do it?
I feel strongly that way. Do I have the evidence and data related to that? No. But these kids also really need a safe place to go.
Yeah.
After school, weekends, and know that they will get some food, they will get, activities, as well as really focusing on career readiness. That, they need to be able to get employed and make the right choices, rather than dealing drugs or getting involved in shootings or flare guns. Those are...
You have a lot on your plate. God bless you. Really. Thank you, Madam
All
Chair.
right, thank you very much. Do you have any other questions? Ms. Evans?
I was wondering about your Healthy Families program. It looks like in 2024, you spent maybe a quarter of the funding. Although it's decreased, it's there. Do you have a plan? Like, what is that program? Do you have a plan to spend that?
Yes, we do. And, Wendy had indicated to me this afternoon, basically, that we partner with Northern Rivers as well. They haven't submitted their claims since June. We didn't have a contract in place, so therefore, we will be spending that money.
Thank you. There's also been some vacancies too. So that program is pretty, the staff are pretty, it's lower paying staff.
Right.
The state did give us additional funding to put into that line, but because of the collective bargaining agreement, we can't change it yet. We've been implementing small bonuses to try to get, but they really want higher salaries.
Sure. Thank you.
And just also with Healthy Families, it has expanded. OCFS has, or planning on expanding it. So they did give us support as well. And it's expanding to the age of 24 months. And it's for child welfare cases. So CPS will be able to then refer to Healthy Families, because before it would have to be before birth up to 3 months old. So this is really expanding.
Thank you.
Ms. Walker?
Thank you. Just a follow-up actually on the juvenile justice coordinator. I was just a little confused where, because it says don't want them involved in the juvenile justice system, but it sounds like what I was reading that they already are. So at what point are you getting them? Before they've gotten arrested, go to family court, or they're already in probation? Where along the line are you working with them?
I think on both ends, that basically we will have one of the juvenile justice coordinator really engaging the community.
Okay.
So really looking at programs, and working with what are the needs of that youth and to provide some support and feedback. So we need to get a prevention program involved so the child doesn't end up at probation's doorway. And the other individual really will be looking at those children already involved in family court and may need placement at secure detention or non-secure detention.
So both
Yes.
possible. I would assume that the first population in the community we're looking at, we talked a lot about truancy over the last year and about earmarking that as a place to really grab onto these kids and try to make some changes. I assume that's what you mean by that?
And we've been doing a pilot project with Albany City School District and probation, and looking at those juveniles that have been absent 20 days so far, in a year, and really bringing the family in, meeting with the family. We have a caseworker assigned to this diversion program, and to really hopefully get the youth on the right path. And the one youth, he actually won at our Youth Bureau awards that he improved in his attendance by working with the caseworker.
And just to follow up to that, with the truancy, have you seen the change in age of kids being truant, like the younger being truant? That used to always just be a high school thing, well, back in my day, when you were brave enough to skip school.
Summer skip day.
Yeah, but now, have you seen it get?
And I think we need to really be looking at those younger.
Yeah, the elementary school.
Correct,
Yeah.
because then it's not a pattern of behavior.
Yeah.
That, once they get into that pattern, it's really hard to break it.
And usually it's for a different reason, because the home's not getting them ready up in the morning.
And it could be, again, a generational issue. And we also have to really work with the parents. Sometimes that high schooler isn't going to school because he has to take care of the younger children. because mom has to go to work.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray Joyce?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up on the truancy, the process, I think, used to be that the families would go to family court if it was a continuing problem for the family, and the family would get services to hope, because that's usually the root cause, right? A lot of the parents need services to help with care of the child, right?
Absolutely.
Are we missing that piece now?
No, a lot of times what's happening, at least with Albany City School District, they are bringing the petition down to probation. And so once that truancy petition goes there, what we are doing is they're sending it up to us so we can get services in place before they proceed with family court involvement.
So it's diverted then?
Correct.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
I have a question. Is the Child Advocacy Center still in existence?
Yes, it is operated by the Start Center, which is out of Rensselaer County. And they are providing the assessments, and that is something that we went through the Office of Children and Family Services and transferred the service to them. They're still using our location down at 260 South Pearl Street, which is our health and mental health complex.
Did you say 260 North Pearl Street?
South Pearl.
Oh, South Pearl, oh, okay. All right. Are there any other questions?
Can I have a follow-up to your question on that?
Excuse me?
Can I do a follow-up to your question on that?
Sure.
What happened to our staff in the CSA?
They're actually at 112 State Street.
Being dispersed to the rest of your
Yes.
department? They're no longer doing
No,
any
they're
of
not.
that, assessments or forensics or none of that?
They're still forensic caseworkers, they're still, the Start Center's just running it, and we're still a member, and we're still part of the team.
So we're actively involved if any of our Albany County families are involved.
So our Albany County employees are doing those
Correct.
investigations? Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Ms. Petto?
Question about the coordination of services. We have a lot of services provided by the county, a lot provided by other providers, nonprofits. There's been a lot of questions of late as to how those services are being coordinated. The board that you mentioned, the youth board, having direct input on that selection and how those are maintained is really helpful, but what else is being done on a coordination basis with the districts and other providers?
Right, well, all of the nonprofit agencies provide preventive services. So we have a prevention unit that is the sole responsibility of ensuring that those agencies are providing services and that the services are effective. In addition, this last RFP go around, we had the RFP indicate that they have to be evidence-based practices. So, as we talk about data, we're going to have more data once we get, more engaged and more involved. We're going into year 2 right now of the preventive services, so.
A lot of data we can, if it's something you want us to see.
Yeah. Like I said, the monthly reporting from them.
And are there positions that are directly tied to that evaluation? Could you just name a couple of those positions?
We have a whole prevention unit that's tied directly to them. So each of the prevention workers, their caseworkers, senior caseworkers, are tied to certain agencies. And they oversee that everything's being done. And then the agencies also have to enter information into the state's connection system. So they're FAST, I forget what FAST stands for, but they have to enter those into the connection system with notes on what they're doing.
Are those grouped or anything, those prevention services? No.
No.
Kind of.
It's all in there.
It's all
Sorry.
caseworkers, senior caseworkers, supervisor duties.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. If there are no other questions, I want to say good night. Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And very educational for all of us. Moving on now to veterans.
Any improvement? I know, you're such a big speaker. I still feel going to. Let's hope.
evening. My name is Scott Leslie, Director of the Albany County Veterans Service Bureau.
Good evening, my name is Shannon Logal, VSO2 for the Albany County Veterans Service Bureau.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to thank you for your time and the county executive for his guidance and support as my department continues to serve the veterans and families of Albany County. For 2026, we've developed a budget that builds on the momentum from 2025 with well over 7,000 veteran touchpoints through very aggressive outreach, programming, events, and a dedicated staff. The word is out, our Veterans Service Bureau serves Albany County veterans second to none. In 2026, we'll expand our outreach by assigning a dedicated veteran service officer split between the VA Hospital and SUNY Albany Student Veteran Office, strengthening our work with female veterans at events that are planned by female veterans, and continue to leverage the invaluable PFC Dwyer Program grant from New York State to fund events that continue to improve veterans' mental health, physical fitness, and the quality of life. And also, my office does not anticipate any budgetary impacts from the big beautiful bill. This time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. DeMaio. Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you discuss the VSO position that was eliminated and increased your temporary help?
Yes, we eliminated one VSO, one position. That also made room for the proposed deputy director position. It was also found that we could move one of our personnel into the temp line out of the VSO 1. This is part-time.
And the Women's Veterans Program, what do you have planned for next year?
I'm sorry, sir?
The Women's Veterans Program?
Sure, you want to take that?
Absolutely. So we have recently just launched the Women Veterans Program. We're looking to launch this coming January a MST/PTSD support group for women veterans. This will serve the huge need that we see within the women demographic of veterans who have suffered and survived and now have overcome military sexual trauma. On top of that, what we're going to be doing is we're launching a summit that will be partnering with our local Albany Stratton VA for the month of April, where we'll be combining not only our resources, but the resources of local veterans agencies, as well as mental health clinicians, service dog support, as well as MSWs, LCSWs, and so on and so forth, to provide not only education for women veterans and others, but also to provide the proper support needed for that specific issue that we see within our community. Going forward, what we'll be doing is creating additional support seminars that have to do with mental health first aid, as well as trauma-informed care, and dealing with these types of aspects within our other roles as female veterans within our day-to-day lives.
Oh, that's great, thank you. And thank you for your service.
Mr. Reedy?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Director Leslie, I want to thank you for bringing your own microphone to our hearing tonight.
It's the hearing loss.
Can you highlight any new initiatives for 2026 you didn't highlight in your presentation?
Yeah, some of the things that we've got going on for 2026. A number of them are really focused on, let's say the top three, getting this new VSO out further out in the community. This VSO is going to be stationed SUNY Albany, the Veterans Administration Hospital. We also have 2 other sites that we're looking at. But this is going to be almost like, they don't all have to come to St. Louis. If somebody's at the VA or at SUNY Albany, they're a student veteran, or if there's somebody that's dropping by the VA, they can see a VSO right there. That's huge. The female initiatives that we're looking at right now, those are huge initiatives. Those will be our top 2. We've made so much progress with our outreach over the last couple of years. Everybody knows about my office at this point. What we're trying to build now, the way we're crafting this budget, is to increase the amount of bandwidth we have to file more claims with the Veterans Administration. That's our bread and butter. So in the last year or 2, we were trying to get the business in the door. Now our schedules are packed. We don't need to do as much programming. Now we need to serve more veterans. We need to spend more time with more veterans. That requires more personnel. And the proposed budget reflects our desire for the deputy director position, which also is our big initiative, which will assist us in streamlining case management, ensure that professional education is maintained, and certifications.
Thanks, Director. I know you talked a little bit about the Dwyer peer support funding, which I think is $109,000. Anything else on that program you can share with us and the significance?
Yes, the PSC Dwyer program, the grant comes down from New York State to every county in the state. And it's up to each county as to what we're going to do with it. It's very flexible. So the end state that you want to achieve with the Dwyer program is to build some type of a program where you're encouraging or developing physical, spiritual fitness, physical fitness efforts, develop a team environment to fight loneliness, to improve mental health care and mental well-being in hopes of reducing and combating veteran suicide. That's the end state you hope to achieve. So we do that. We do a number of different programs. It might be a CrossFit workout, whatever it might be. It might be a yoga class. That brings veterans together of all ages. And that's another big goal of ours in 2026 is to combat isolationism. And that's how we do it. We get a bunch of vets together. We have a great time and great events. Before you know it, they're in our office. Maybe we're connecting them with additional benefits. That's what we do.
All right, do I have any other questions for Mr. Grimm?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page, the bottom 178, I'm looking at appropriations from last year, 1.2 million, 850 this year. Were there savings, or how do you explain that?
The reduction of budget, sir?
Yeah.
Just under 50% of that reduction of the budget comes from the elimination of the grant program that we've done over the last 2 years, where we offered up to $150,000 in grants to local VFWs and American Legions. That accounts for just under 50%. The other parts, you're going to see just some right sizing. You'll see that we've got a reduction in programming funding for March On. We bit off a little more than we could chew, and so we're right sizing that. With our March On coordinator, or out in the community, they're partnering with us on a number of events. But we fail to account just how many events that they would be partnering with us on. So they're not out executing as much March On funded programming because we're working hand in hand with them on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm. Do you have contact with like Tunnel to Tunnel?
Tunnels to Towers?
All these guys, they have so much money to help vets.
Yes.
Do you have much contact with them, and have you been able to get vets homes and stuff and apartments? And stuff?
No homes, nothing like that, not yet, sir.
Okay.
But we do liaise with them.
Do you have any stats on veteran suicide?
Not on me, but I can get that to you.
I'd be interested in nobody.
Right, I mean, if we're looking at the national trend, where we often hear the 22 a day, that's come down to approximately 16 and change a day.
Nationally?
Nationally.
Yeah. Okay. All right, thanks very much.
Thank you, Mr. Grimm.
Thank you very much.
My questions have been answered, thank you.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Scott Leslie? If not, I personally want to thank you for your service and keep up the good work.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy your night.
Good luck, Jeff, right? Give it a shot. All right. Good evening, Madam Chair and legislators. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present the Health Department's budget tonight. I'm joined here, my name is Tricia Bellato, I'm the Deputy Commissioner with the Albany County Health Department, and this is
Ransom Morris, Assistant Commissioner of Finance and Administration.
We just want to state we are actually very pleased with this budget as it is in line with our mission and goals and allows us to continue to provide core public health services in the community, as well as restore infrastructure to prepare for the future given the tremendous threats public health is facing due to actions at the federal level. As a result, the Health Department is focused on continuing to restore public health infrastructure in response to the challenges presented by the COVID-19 pandemic that resulted in significant turnover of staff of the department over the last several years. This is necessary not only to ensure we fulfill our mission to protect and improve the health and well-being of individuals, families, and communities within Albany County, but also to prepare for the impending challenges facing our community related to the destruction of federal public health resources and support.
Just over 50% of our budget and nearly all of our positions within the health department are supported through federal and state funding, which is precarious and tentative. Cuts here would hinder our ability to protect or even respond to public health threats in an unprecedented way. So to mitigate this risk, we are proactively prioritizing and categorizing essential activities to allow us to quickly assess the impact of any severe cuts of funding that may occur. Additionally, we are proactively conducting grant research to identify non-governmental funding streams that align with our mission and work. Our budget remains relatively consistent, which allows us to currently continue to provide impactful programs, including implementing the Community Health Improvement Plan, which is also going under redevelopment for the next evolution of it, to improve health and reduce health disparities. Supporting birthing individuals and families through the Perinatal and Infant Community Health Collaborative Grant, advancing child health through tobacco control, dental services, and lead poisoning prevention, including the implementation of the New York State's lead rental registry, which is due to come soon. Strengthening emergency preparedness and disease containment through targeted funding, improving pedestrian safety via the Governor's Traffic Safety Grant, which allows us to provide needed education and outreach in high-incident areas of pedestrian accidents, advancing healthy eating and physical activity through evidence-based programs like the National Diabetes Prevention Program and Move Your Way, which are supported by ARPA funding, and coordinating department-wide responses to emerging public health threats through education, outreach, and connection to trusted resources. Additionally, we are poised to implement funding from the Jewel Settlement Fund. This is a funding stream through the New York State Attorney General's Office, and it will span over the next 5 years. It will be used to support evidence-based education, prevention, and cessation programs to consumers and retailers. We have it broken down in about four buckets, school and youth-based community programs, pending how BOCES will be rolling out their piece of it, public education campaigns, college and university programs, as well as retailer education to encourage compliance with regulations. You may notice that our specialty program line was decreased, so we just want to point out that that was a line created to support legislative grants like the Vaping Education Initiative with local schools and the Maternal Child Health Program at the Health Department, for which we are very grateful for. The equipment and fee-for-service budget lines were reduced due to grants ending. Many of the purchased equipment items are non-consumable and will not require frequent replacement. We do not have any significant staffing or structural changes or salary increases in this budget, but would like to note that the nursing salary increases that were implemented last quarter with legislative approval have resulted in the successful hiring of 4 new staff members. 2 additional candidates are currently progressing through the interview process, bringing the total to 6. Since the salary adjustment, the overall quality of applicants has noticeably improved. So again, thank you for this much needed support. To mitigate current vacancies, we will be using results from my recent Public Health Wins survey to inform our strategic plan, which includes a workforce development plan. Additionally, we have launched a leadership development program with both executive and senior leadership teams. It will continue into 2026 and includes the building out of a strategic mentorship plan. We are very hopeful that this will allow us to effectively address any retention challenges that may come our way. At this time, thank you for letting us present, and we're open for questions.
Thank you very much. Mr. Reedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Deputy Commissioner, can you explain the new position of personnel assistant 2 in the budget? And that's on page 119.
Yes, so that position replaces a current personnel assistant position and was developed for retention. So it's basically recognizing that this person has developed additional skills.
Thank you. And I know there's 20 vacant positions. Can you talk about your strategy to maintain full staffing for 2026?
Yes, we've been working closely with civil service to identify ways to do some additional recruitment. Additionally, we mentioned that the nursing salaries were recently increased, and a lot of the vacancies that we had were related to nursing, and so that is definitely, we're finding stronger candidates and being able to fill those much more rapidly than we have over the past few years. Lastly, we do have some public health sanitarian positions that are open, but they were on hold due to the delay of the lead rental registry program being implemented.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions? Mr. Grimm?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On page 120, you have a health and wellness stipend. What is that exactly?
So that's part of the Public Health Infrastructure Grant. We went through this with the Health Committee where we established a $500 wellness stipend for employees and a $1,000 3-year longevity funded by that grant.
$500 to put towards the gym membership or something like that?
Yes, there's a list of associated categories that we encourage the employees to spend it.
I wondered, because the county executive mentioned this the other day, I wondered how are you going to police that, though? We know in January of every year, a bunch of people sign up for a gym membership, and by February, they stop going. How are you going to police the stipends, which looks like 45 grand? How do you police it?
So it is a wellness stipend, so it's not like specific just to gym memberships, but anything that would like the overarching wellness piece of it. And yeah, I don't think we're necessarily, what's that?
Do you have to submit receipts? I mean,
No, it's not tracked at that level.
okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Joyce?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for all the work you do. You guys do good work along with mental health. I do have concerns about state and federal aid. We haven't even seen the tip of the iceberg yet. I think some of the decisions coming out of our current Secretary for Health and Human Services, are poor, and the cuts we're seeing from DOGE are talking $15 billion in public health funds. I see our workload going up for public health, and I see the funding being a problem. So are we starting to look at that? It doesn't directly impact this budget, but I can see some problems probably going into the third quarter of next year. I mean, are we starting to look at that?
Yeah, that's part of what the prioritization and categorization work that we're doing now is to really help us understand what those impacts may be when they come so that we can, appropriately pivot with that. Additionally, we are looking for non-governmental sources, grant sources that align with our mission and would allow us to, potentially replace some of that funding should we get cuts.
I think some services we can't cut. We may, I don't know if the county's going to absorb some of that
Yeah,
expense.
I mean, we definitely have some, public health law, requires us to do a list of mandated services that are important in order to preserve the health and wellness of, the public. So we're committed to that. I think to a lot of extent, we're very fortunate to be in New York State, who's joined a coalition, which will help to absorb some of what has been lost at the federal level and help guide us.
Thank you.
Ms. Evans?
I was wondering what I don't know how to say, but the JUUL settlement.
Yeah, so that's the Jewel Settlement Fund. So it came out of the New York State Attorney's General Office in response to the effects of vaping, particularly on youth. And so it's a program meant to counter that. And so we have, 4 different strategies that we'll be implementing simultaneously.
I'm good.
Okay, all right. Okay, Mr. Demond?
Thank you. On page 120, your fees for services, 2025 was 2.8 million, and now we're down to 1.4 million. Can you just expand upon how that's going to impact the budget?
Yeah, so a lot of that was actually linked to grants that had actually run their course. And so that is the shift on that. So it's programming that is complete. Some of it has, been absorbed into regular division work at this time. And so those grants allowed us to pilot programs and find the best way to implement them.
were any of those programs eliminated, or were they just shift to other areas?
As well as some of it, Ransom might be able to speak to this, but I believe some of it actually had to do with lead programming, and so there was like work that, there's multiple lead grants, and so there was work that was completed on one, and now there's like another phase that's getting teed up to use moving forward.
Yeah, so a large amount of that was in fees for service last year, and it was to reimburse landlords who lead remediate their homes, all the apartment units that they rent out. That is not longer going to be the strategy, so that was in the 2025 budget, but we're moving forward in a different direction as, like Tricia mentioned, the lead rental registry program has been laid out by the state. And
Was the lead abatement program a large part of this money?
yes, I think that, I'd have to look, but I think it's maybe $952,000 of that was for just providing reimbursement to.
And that's eliminated now?
Well, it's not eliminated, it's in the 2025 budget, so we have the remainder of the year to utilize that. And if we do not, then we can carry it over to next year in an encumbrance as part of the program.
Thank you.
Ms. LaBelle.
Hi, thank you, Madam Chair. Good evening. I had a quick question. On page 118, you give some statistics for tick removal kits. I was happy to see that, and I was wondering, how is that publicized, and what are they, and how does one get a tick removal kit?
Great question. So always have to promote like public health. Yeah, so the tick removal kits are actually our Division of Education does a lot of the outreach and education. So often when we go out in the community to do community events, we will have seasonal topics that will be shared, and so they will bring those ticks along and distribute them at that time. We also post information about tick removal on our website, so folks can actually just reach out directly to the Department of Education to get those as well.
So just a follow-up, when you do distribute them, do you go to like the Helderberg Trail, for example, where people are out, or Lawson Lake, or where do you have like a outreach at that sort of
Yeah, we don't have like
location?
a specific outreach for like tick work, just because it is like so rampant in the area. And so anytime we're really out and about and doing community education, and it's in that like tick season, spring, fall, we will be out there, promoting that education.
It's a great idea, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Perro.
Thank you. When we met in the spring, we learned that the pre- and postnatal visit program was in jeopardy of disappearing because of lack of staffing. It was good to see in your report that there were 327 home visits for maternal and family health, but I'm not sure if that's a separate program or what the status is right now of the postnatal home visits.
I can speak to that. So those visits actually represent our Willow program, or what's supported through the Pitch program. I'm happy to say that I think we're in the process of hiring 3 out of 4 positions for the maternal child health program with public health nurses. So a good part of what we'll be doing, the end of this year into next year is actually breathing some new life back into that program, and those nurses will be supporting the work of the paraprofessionals or the community health workers that go out into the community.
But those are separate from the 327 then?
Correct, that is separate.
And the title is public health nurse?
It would be public health nurses, yep.
Okay.
And then we also have like a supervising public health nurse who is the program director of parent-child health.
Got it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to hear.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can you tell me what role the county plays with the Humane Society?
Yeah, so the Humane Society is a strong partner with us with our rabies initiatives. So they will assist us with like rabies clinics and things of that sort. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
There's almost entirely the health department is under the budget code 4010. There's an additional budget code for the Humane Society that does provide some funding for them annually. I believe that may be another part of that. It's about $5,500 annually.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions from the members of the legislature? If not, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mental health is next, and budget page start 146.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Dr. Giordano sends his regrets for being unable to attend tonight. However, I'm very happy to be here with you all tonight, representing the Department of Mental Health and presenting the County Executive's 2026 budget for our department. We're really proud of the work that we're doing by dedicated staff at Albany County Department of Mental Health in an environment where I'm sure you know the need is great and ever growing. The department continues to serve the residents of Albany County through many direct and indirect services. To illustrate some of the work being done, I just wanted to highlight a few stats for you, which I know you received, but I think they're important to know. Last year, we served 641 unique individuals in our adult outpatient clinic, and another 837 were diverted into other community services. At the mental health unit in Albany Correctional Facility, we had 940 patients served, but 11,000 total inmate patient contacts. In 2024, 1,877 crisis contacts were made by our local crisis team, and I'm very proud to say 82% of those were diverted from hospitalization and further intervention, and I think that's really worth noting. Additionally, in line with the county exec's vision and workforce development plan through this year and past budgets, we strive to create positions that increase entry-level opportunities. One example in last year's budget in 2025 was the increase of peer advocacy lines to allow those with lived experience to help others through hope and experience. Advancement opportunities within the department also continue to be created over time to allow for a job to become a career with Albany County. We are proud to accentuate this point by reporting that in the last 6 months we have hired 23 new individuals at Albany County Department of Mental Health. While vacancies still exist within our department, we are happy to say that this is trending downward. Additionally, with the support of the county executive and all of you, we continue to create programs without walls. Much of this is through grant funding and state aid to better meet the needs of underserved individuals who may not easily access traditional office-based services. I wanted to highlight a few of these programs for you, and I know that many of you are aware of them, but I think they're worth noting. As many of you are aware, we've rolled out a street psychiatry program, which is intended to help those with behavioral health needs who are unhoused be able to receive services that are traditionally received in an office-based environment. And now we are going to bring that to them, which I think is really important. In addition to that, through opioid settlement funds, we are expanding our MOTOR team, which stands for Mobile Outreach Treatment and Overdose Response. This is a community-based program that directly helps individuals who suffer from opioid addiction and helps them at their point of readiness to receive treatment through short-term treatment on the spot and then linkage to additional services. This new funding will allow for a larger footprint in Albany County and a further reduction in opioid overdoses. Additionally, a combination of state aid and grant funding has allowed for the expansion of programs and staff that support many with behavioral health challenges who will become entangled in the criminal justice system. Funding will allow these individuals to be better connected to resources and services. I wanted to highlight one program through the Bureau of Justice Assistance, which is a collaboration between the Department of Mental Health and the Department of Probation, which is working with their mental health caseload to try to support those individuals and connect them to resources within the community. We're very excited about that. This grant, as well as Albany State Aid, will allow increased involvement in Albany County and city courts as well to assist individuals in receiving the help they need. These are just a few of the highlights of the important work that we're doing. It is certainly true that we're in a federal climate that is very scary and concerning. At this point, I am happy to say that we are not hearing of any cuts to our programs, but we are staying very attuned to the climate, and we will be meeting with some of our regulatory agencies through the state to determine if any of those cuts will be forthcoming, and we will certainly be open with all of you should that be the case. It is important to note, though, we don't do this work alone. We partner with over 20 community partners, and we have oversight of $18 million in state aid funding contracts. and that encompasses 75 community behavioral health programs. All of the staff at Albany County Department of Mental Health are dedicated to the mission of serving those in Albany County who are challenged with behavioral health conditions, and we believe that the county executive's proposed budget of 2026 gives us the ability to serve the needs of residents in Albany County in new and innovative ways while still staying true to our mission. Thank you, and I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. George?
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. Mostly just comments. I guess one question, one thing that jumped out was contractual expenses. We're going from 2025 of 12.7 million to 5.8. Seems like a drastic cut.
I'm sorry, which line?
Excuse me, contractual expenses.
Yes.
So, anyways, I'm cautious with health and mental health because these are services for folks, right, in our residents. The same statement as I made to health. We're seeing 11 billion in cuts to addiction and mental health services on the federal level. That's going to trickle down.
Absolutely. Yeah, so some of those contractual expense changes were reduced because a couple of programs did in fact close, and I want to be open and honest about that. However, I will say that those individuals that were being served by those agencies were absorbed into other agencies, and there has been a lot of collaboration and support to ensure that that work is being done by those existing agencies.
Sure. And just like I said to health, you guys do great work. I do have a concern that a statement I'm going to make that we probably need to look at going into 2026. We have a lot of treatment centers in Albany County, and there's a need for that, right? They do good work, and we appreciate that. However, I was at 2 neighborhood association meetings over the past month, and the messaging from the Albany Police is that sometimes folks that are sent in from other counties, the Camino Nuevo was an example, right? A lot of folks came in from outside of Albany County, then they stay here, they fall out of programs, they fall out of housing, and then they become, then there are City of Albany problems or wherever is there any programming to capture that or to kind of address those that fall out of the programs and how we can get them back on track? Or
Yes, absolutely.
or making their home counties responsible for the financial impact in Albany County? Or?
Well, we've always looked to the other counties where some of those individuals came from for some accountability and responsibility, but separate from that, I think that these Clinic Without Walls programs that were created, the street psychiatry programs that work hand in hand with the homeless action programs and different community providers, and that is also in conjunction with the Albany Police Department as well, will really be able to look at those hot spots of where some unhoused individuals may live, where some of those disconnected individuals may be. Also the motor program, which I mentioned as well, for individuals that are struggling with opioid addiction. We are going to be able to serve a larger footprint. We get data from crime analysis centers. We're going to be expanding that data, so we'll be more aware of what's happening in the county of Albany and be able to respond quickly and appropriately to those individuals in need. So, and we're exploring more and more opportunities. And as I also mentioned, we're expanding some of our community criminal justice programs. And while we don't want to ever see anybody end up involved with the criminal justice system, we have many programs that look to create creative plans so that they don't end up in a jail, and that we can help to connect them to resources. And sometimes that's those individuals that have fallen off.
Yeah, so, and you do great work. I just see workload increasing and cuts coming in 2027. So, thank you for all you do, and
Absolutely.
let us know how we can help.
Absolutely, thank you.
Mr. Calkins?
I wonder if you could talk about line 19970, temporary help. It's gone up a couple of $100,000.
Yes, I'd be happy to. So the primary increase in that line has to do with a per diem prescriber that we have added to our street psychiatry program that I mentioned previously. That's how we're funding that prescriber. But in addition to that, you heard that the census at the jail is very high by those numbers of contacts that I mentioned earlier. And we have added a part-time prescriber to that as well to ensure that those individuals are getting their needs met. And that's the primary reason for that request and increase.
Thank you.
Ms. Avery?
My question is also employee related, but you have a couple lines here. In most departments, they're asking to increase salaries to attract and retain employees, but there's a couple here that Your number count remains the same, but the salaries are decreasing.
Yes, happy to address that, I know which lines you're referencing. So in one of those cases, it's a supervising social worker, I believe that you're referring to, and the reason for that is that the individual in that line currently is somebody that's worked for the county for over 30 years, and she has now went part-time. And so she's able to cover the duties because she is so seasoned and capable at a part-time capacity. So right now, we don't need anyone in a full-time capacity in that line. Should she ever leave, I will be completely transparent and say that we probably need to increase that line, but that's not the case right now. The other one I believe we were referring to is the employment specialist. And the reason for that is that originally when the state aid funding came, I believe we included fringe benefit money in that budget line, and that shouldn't have been in there. That's captured somewhere else. So we have now right-sized that budget amount for what the budget line actually should be.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Thank you.
Mr. Grimm?
All right, thank you. You said you're not hearing about cuts from the state or from the feds?
From both, actually, at this point. Although I will tell you, I'm going to be attending some town hall meetings with the state upcoming, and we will determine from them if there's going to be any upcoming cuts that we're not aware of.
Okay, you talked about expanding motor to additional jurisdictions. And what
Yes.
would those jurisdictions be?
So we're expanding to, I believe, Manans and Cohoes, and we are expanding on, we're not entirely sure exactly where the footprint's going to be at this point, but we will be expanding. I'll get back to you specifically.
Obviously, every member has a particular interest in that question.
Of
You know,
course.
in my case, Gilderland and Colony, I'd be interested.
Well, so we're already in Gilderland Colony. That's actually some of where we get data from the crime analysis center
Oh,
for
good.
those jurisdictions. So yes, we are. But I believe we're going to be doing Cohoes and Manans and possibly some others as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yes. Mr. DeCollins?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can you comment on the inpatient hospitalization contractual spending?
Absolutely. That's a very sad topic, but I'm happy to tell you about it. So in 2021, the state made a determination that they were no longer going to cover 50% of the competency evaluations and hospitalizations for individuals that ended up in the jail in the mental health unit who were potentially not capable of understanding their legal proceedings. And because of that increase by 50%, that greatly increased the burden to the county to have to cover those costs. In addition to that, the lack of hospital beds in Albany County, we believe, is a direct impact to why individuals with severe behavioral health challenges who may need at times intermediate stays in hospitals end up on the street and then end up in jail, increases the census, which then leads to more of those evaluations and hospitalizations, unfortunately.
Thank you. Can you expand upon the Project Hope line and the Hope House line are both down
The reason that
900,000?
decreased, yes,
Yeah,
they
decreased.
closed one of their recovery residences, and that's the reason for that decrease.
In Albany?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Knight?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I very much appreciate Legislator Joyce's questions and comments regarding, persons that come here from other counties where they offer little to nothing as far as services that we provide here. But yet, he's correct, when they do fall out of programs, they wind up, in our care on a continuing basis and being somewhat problematic. But you didn't fully answer the question of what steps are taken to follow up with their points of origin, or how you track these individuals to do so, and ask, these counties, their home counties, to provide some sort of coverage on these matters.
Yeah, so let me answer that more thoroughly. Thank you for that question. When somebody comes to our attention that falls into that category or we receive a referral, we always ask for releases of information in order to determine where they have previously received services. And if we determine that their services received in another county, we will always call their clinical providers and try to make a determination as to whether they can return. And we advocate very strongly for that because you're right, especially with the Capital District Psychiatric Center being in Albany County, many times those individuals do end up here. That's one of the main sources of why folks do. We try very hard to get them to receive services from the county of origin. Sometimes there are good reasons why they can no longer do that. Also, services are voluntary. And sometimes those individuals want to remain in Albany County and maybe they're obliged to serve them. But we also have something unique in Albany County that many counties don't have, which are 3 SPOAs, single point of access, which means that any high-risk, hard-to-serve cases are triaged through for case management, clinical, and housing, and that allows us to really thoroughly vet some of that as well.
So, but that sounds like it ultimately means these counties can just negate responsibility for many.
Well, at times I call their DCS and try very hard to not let that happen. You know, we really do work very hard to try and get them to take those individuals. We can't always force them, but we work very hard to try to advocate for that. We really truly do, because we agree with you, and it's very frustrating at times when that happens. So we make all efforts to relink them to those services when possible. You're welcome.
All right, thank you. Ms. Rosano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under contracted mental health expenses, the Albany County DCYF, that's almost doubled. In 24, it was.
Ellen, could you please speak up?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm questioning the amount for the 2024 Albany County DCYF. It's 44,432, and it goes from 228,000 to 406,000. And then
Michael is telling me that he believes it's a fluctuation in state aid, but let us get back to you with a more definitive answer about it.
Thank you.
Ms. Lockhart.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was looking at your vital stats, and I'm concerned about the jail. Quite a number being treated at the jail, more than in your outpatient clinic. Doesn't surprise me necessarily, but what I want to know is, I'm not familiar with it. Do we have, you go over there and do some work, but is there personnel dedicated at the jail so that in the middle of the night when somebody's having a psychotic break or whatever's going on with them, that is responding, not has to come from? Is there a unit over there that
Yeah,
is,
so we have a very
other than just
robust-
giving out the medication daily, you know?
Yes, we have a very robust mental health unit over there. We have 7 clinical mental health clinicians over there, a clinical director, a discharge planner, 3 part-time per diem medical prescribers who attend to their needs. Now, it is a daytime position.
Okay.
However, they do rotate on weekends, but there is a contractual agency, I'm forgetting what it stands for, but it's CFG, which is a medical unit that is there that attends to any urgent needs that may happen. And there's an on-call with the prescribers that should something happen of a psychiatric nature, whether they need some advice or guidance on how to adjust a medication or offer support, they can do that. And there is also a constant observation tier at the jail, which while not ideal, does allow those individuals to be monitored 24/7 if there's a real concern for serious risk. And our unit and staff is there daily to assess those individuals, sometimes twice a day, to determine if they're safe and if they can be released back to their tiers if they end up on that unit.
Do you think it's enough? That's a lot of people.
I think we have a very robust staff out there, and who really works very hard, so I'm
Well, I wasn't
I'm going
questioning
to-
that, but I mean,
I think
enough.
what needs to change is the system, but I do think we have a really great and very full staff out at the jail.
I agree about changing the system, but they're there right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other questions from our legislators? If not, good evening and thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you all very much.
Our next presentation will be 18, count up pages 67 to 71.
You weren't fine. Good question.
Why don't we take 5 minutes to stretch our...
Pause.
very much. Okay. In your budget book, pages 67 through 70 is aging.
Look at me sitting up here with like the Von Trapp family singers.
All right, give us a tune. Go ahead. You start.
Okay, good evening, Madam Chair and legislators. Thank you for the opportunity to present the budget for 2026. Many of you know I will be transitioning into a new role for the county that is inspiring and exciting. Emma Teague, who will serve as the next commissioner, is with me tonight. And I know you will join me in congratulating her on this new role. Also with me tonight is Dave Riley, who you know, Alec Hewlett, our finance director, and Pat Dillon, our contract manager. Thank you to the county executive, Dan McCoy, for giving me the opportunity to be the commissioner of aging these last 7 years. Thank you to the Elder Care Committee led by Carolyn McLaughlin, our legislator. The collaboration between committee and agency has been one of dedication, commitment, and warmth. Albany County Legislative Body has heard that call and has kept our seniors in good stead. You, all of you, have connected moral intent with practical action. Thank you to all the members for your continued service and for prioritizing the well-being of our citizens. And I also want to thank our Management and Budget Director, Dave Riley, our Commissioner, and Sarah Cantwell, Alex Stock, who have endured amazing phone calls from you. With me tonight, all I told you is Alec. I always begin every year since I started this job, and I want to remind you, I started on October 31st. It was Halloween. I was trying to send a message on that day. Only one person can wear the hat, and it's me. We added, I always start out with saying, a budget is a moral document. And I just said that's a call that you've all heard. We added 2 new congregate meal sites this year, one in Westerlo and a halal meal in Colony at the mosque. It's the only halal meal in New York State, the only congregate meal in New York State that's halal. You can be very proud of that, yes. To date, we have served more than 100,000 meals for home-delivered meals. We've provided approximately 3,000 rides each month. And you will see that noted in the budget, the increase in the transportation line. We have given legal assistance to over 600 people. Our insurance calls are rising exponentially because of the changes to CDPHP and MVP. It's causing confusion and stress is rising because the changes are in the plans. Prescription costs are rising. These situations are intricate and need more attention. We're getting calls every day because we're, open enrollment, and the seniors are having a terrible time, a lot of them, because they're receiving these letters that are telling them that they're really not enrolled anymore. We held 2 public hearings and got a great turnout at both. Main concern for our folks that came to these hearings are the budget cost cuts in DC. Our focus groups on our ageism project were very interesting, identifying the issues found in medicine, education, and government. We're on a wait-and-see moment. Updates on our new highlights. I wanted to just give you an update because I've been involved in the geriatric ER with Albany Medical Center, and that continues. It continues through the Interfaith Alliance. Albany Med has been very welcoming to me and have included me in looking at the plans and in their, mostly their fundraising. But they have been really terrific and are really steadfast in wanting to do a geriatric ER. That's something we're all going to be very proud of if we get that done. We decreased our fees for service line You'll notice that we did that by $100,000, and the reason for that was to be able to lower the county share in that line. Our ISOP line, you heard Commissioner Sakowitz say, that's remained unchanged. There's no change because we really don't have, the demand for the service has not increased. Our overtime line increased from $3,589 to $11,589. The budget, the 2025 budgeted amount was $11,589, of which $8,000 was transferred out during 2025 in accordance with Resolution 327. I'm open for business if you got questions or comments.
Excuse me. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, Mr. Demola.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you, Deb, for coming tonight. Could you expand upon your in-home services?
The ISEP that I just mentioned? Yeah. Well, you heard Commissioner Sakowitz talk about that. That's help that seniors get at home. You cannot be on Medicaid to get that help because Medicaid takes care of other issues, other funding for that. So we've kind of stayed stagnant with that, with the request. But I can tell you this, just from my experience, and I probably have said this to you before, nobody in any of the counties does ISEP the way Albany County does. Albany County is very generous, and we act immediately. There's been the healthcare crisis, the home care crisis. That is added to the problem because you can't get workers. So that's the story of ISEP and where we're headed with that.
You talked about some of your initiatives for next year. Did you pretty much cover all of them that you wanted to talk about?
I think I did.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner. Can you discuss the new positions that you have in this year's budget? And these are all on page 69.
Yes, I'm going to ask Commissioner Riley to address that.
So one initiative that Commissioner Rotano did not mention, or actually two initiatives that are kind of simultaneous here. Housed in this budget is also the funding for the senior center at the St. Rose campus that the county executive was talking about, as well as a reimagining of the interfaith sanctuary in St. Rose. So that includes, this budget includes all three of those, kind of aging is the main part of the budget. As I was explaining with the financial staff previously, they're earmarked in the accounting system so they can see which goes to where. Just figured it made a lot of sense to house it in this budget, kind of give it a little flexibility or give them a little flexibility in their first couple of years, see how everything starts out. So the director, the second line down, as well as the office assistant in the additions, are going to go to what was the Interfaith Center. And then the executive director, the program coordinator one, and the office manager are slated to be the staff to run the senior center over in the library.
Thank you, Commissioner. Can you just explain what the difference between an executive director position and a director position is?
I would have to ask civil service what the distinction between there.
Yes,
We can
sir.
get back to that.
And I think Commissioner Rotano may have covered this. I apologize if I'm going back, but can you explain the increase in the overtime for your department? I think it's $8,000 and how it's utilized.
So basically, the original budget for the overtime for 2025, was $11,589. And then there was a transfer out of $8,000, so it brought it down to $3,589. as Deb just said, basically about that budget resolution 327. So technically, it's the amount is the same for 2026 as it was in this year, 2025.
Thank you.
Now, do I have any questions from any of the legislators? Okay, Ms. Evans.
I have a comment first. I just want to thank you, Deb. You guys have all been great to the Green Island seniors, you and all of your staff. So I greatly appreciate that and everything you've done for the Green Island seniors. Specifically, happy to see that the congregate meal program funding has increased. Thank you very much. I was just wondering about your recreation programming and the recreation equipment. Is that specific to one particular program or basically the initiatives that you talked about in your presentation?
Well, I want to answer that.
So the recreation programming specifically is for the senior center. That's to set up the programs, kind of get everything going. The recreation equipment line is to be split between the aging department and the senior center, so I don't have the exact breakdown offhand, but it's trying to kind of expand things out.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you clarify the go-go grandparent rides? Who is that actually eligible for that?
Go-Go Grandparent, gee, I forgot to mention Go-Go Grandparent, thank you. That's an initiative, we received it's not actually $75,000 that comes into us, but we have that, it's like a credit card at NYSOFA. So you only need to be 60 and live in Albany County.
All right, so it's not, there's no means test or anything?
You gotta be 60.
Yeah, I mean.
And, you mean financially?
Financially, yeah.
No.
Okay.
It's a program that NYSOFA has partnered up with Uber, but people need to take the ride in Albany County.
Okay.
I'm not sure where we stand money-wise, where we are at this point, of how much money we have left, on our credit card. But it's been very successful. There's been some glitches, it's run out of California. There has been some glitches to it. I usually talk to Dutchess County about that because they've used the program. We wanted to use it, and we restricted it for social use because we really don't have transportation that, somebody could go out to dinner and, or maybe see a movie and get there and then get home. So we kind of did it a little bit differently, but that's, the other counties don't have the great transportation system that we have, that we're able to provide.
So Deb, someone like, for the airport, they need a ride home, that's part of the go-go grandparent?
They could, if they belong to go-go grandparent, if they have the number and they do it before 8 o'clock, if they have to do it by 8 in the morning or 8 at night.
Okay.
Those are the hours that it operates.
It operates just in those hours, because I think that would be a very common thing, if someone would need a ride from the airport, they live in Albany County and they're coming from the county.
I don't know, because, we don't have that list, like, we don't know where people go. It's also very helpful for people who wanna, a spouse who wants to get to the nursing home to visit somebody, and they don't drive, or they're nervous about, going on a big road or whatever it is. So, it's a really successful program, and we need to be able to speak to NYSOFA to see if we can do one more round of the 75,000, if that money is still available to do. We've not used it up yet.
Okay, thank you.
No,
You said we have used it up?
No.
We have not.
no, I think we have not, no.
We have not.
Not.
Can we get some more information on that?
Sure, we can get you more information on that, sure.
I'd like to get that too.
We all appreciate
Yeah.
that. Very,
Well,
very
people are
grateful.
60.
Yeah, we'll send that.
Ms. Lockhart.
Thank you. Deb, does a person sign up to be a part of Go-Go Grandparent before they can start calling for rides, or?
Yeah, they do. There's number, we had a flyer, we had, there's a number that you call to sign up. That's probably the most frustrating part to the seniors, is because there's sometimes a wait. I mean, I tried it out myself just to see how it worked.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's a bit of a wait, which is frustrating. And then they give you the other number to call to get the ride itself. So, it's twofold, they sign up and then they're given the number to be able to call to get the ride.
So if a person wanted to make use of that program, and not knowing whether they're going to need it down the road or how often, they would sign up initially as a member of GoGo, and then they'd have that other.
Yeah, and it's only good for 2 round trips a month.
Oh,
So it supplements taking the bus or whatever, but it's helped an awful lot of people out, Now, we did have somebody get stranded because they got a ride and they went out of the county, the Uber driver didn't realize it, then the lady couldn't get home, that was a problem, little things that have happened.
Okay. Any other, Mr. Lane?
No.
Did you have anything? Oh, okay. Ms. Rosano?
Sorry, guys.
In the budget, there's a line for a dietitian.
Yes.
Do we now have a dietitian?
Well, that's a story.
Okay,
And then
well, I'm here, so.
For your dinner. We have a part-time dietitian right now, as we speak. She has resigned her position on November 28th. We need a full-time. Why do we need a full-time when we've been working with a part-timer? We need a full-timer because we have 25 congregate meal sites that need monitoring, that need those menus approved. So we really need we really need a full-timer. The gal who's been our part-timer used to be our full-timer. She left, she took a job that offered more money. It's not easy to get a registered dietitian, as you know. They need a master's degree. We've done a lot of recruiting in a lot of places to try to get someone, and I hope that we'll be able to get somebody for November.
Thank you.
Well, for December.
Are you going to do congregate dining at St. Rose?
I've not been approached by that.
I'm approaching you.
We don't do congregate meals at St. Rose. We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Good answer.
Okay, all right.
Cafeteria is pretty good.
I would just like to offer my thanks for all of the work that you have done and for all of the creative programs that you have been able to bring to Albany County. And we're grateful that we are united. And even though you came in on Halloween, you will be going out with great memories, but you're going someplace to innovate. And I'm sure we'll be seeing and hearing more from you. So just thank you so very, very much.
I have loved every minute of it.
Programming.
All right. Okay. One more.
Thanks, Deb.
Pages 261 to 268, the nursing home.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Mark Olson, the Executive Director at Shaker Place, and with me tonight is Sean Thielen, our Deputy Executive Director. Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the budget needs of Shaker Place. First, I'd like to once again thank the County Executive, County Leadership, and the Legislature for the opportunity to lead Shaker Place. A year ago, during my 2025 budget testimony, I indicated my number one priority was to significantly improve staffing and completely eliminate our reliance on costly and uncommitted outside agency staff. I am pleased to report that our staffing numbers have significantly increased, and for the first time in over 20 years, we have completely eliminated the use of outside agency staff. This has resulted in a combined savings from the temporary help and overtime lines of about $1 million for 2026. With regard to revenues, in 2025, we did not increase our private pay rates. We are currently conducting a market study and anticipate an increase to our private pay rates of approximately 3% in January of 2026. This would add approximately $250,000 in annual revenue. The 2025-2026 state budget added $160 million statewide for nursing homes Medicaid funding, which will add about 1.6% revenue for Shaker Place. This potential $294,000 increase in revenue is not reflected in our budget due to the uncertainty of recent federal legislation, AKA Big Beautiful Bill. Medicare rates will increase by 3.2% in 2026, which is reflected in the budget. Shaker Place, as well as all public nursing homes, also receive IGT funding annually. I am pleased to report that Shaker Place received $12.6 million for the 2024-2025 state fiscal year. While we hope our IGT funding in 2026 will be commensurate with 2025, we did budget conservatively at the $6.6 million level. At this time, I'd like to address the questions that were forwarded to me from the committee. The first was to explain the fiscal officer 2 position and the reason for the drastic changes. Simply put, this position has been and remains vacant. In previous years, a portion of the budget line was used to balance other staff budget shortfalls. We do anticipate filling the position in 2026. The head nurse positions, 5 head nurse positions, while there was a contractual increase, this is now a pooled budget line for all 5 positions. However, during the past 2 years, we've only had 1 person in that position. The head nurse seems like a very needed position in nursing homes, but it's kind of a misnomer the way it's characterized. It's actually a staff level nurse position, very similar to an LPN position, but this is basically an RN doing an LPN work. We have many, many other RNs in other positions. My budget priorities and initiatives for 2026. 1 is to continue with our recruitment and retention efforts. 2 initiatives there include that we are currently in the process of configuring a state-of-the-art applicant tracking system, which will improve and streamline the application and onboarding process for new staff members. And similar to our customer satisfaction surveys that have been very helpful, we plan to implement staff satisfaction surveys to assist in reducing our turnover rates. Number 2, we've applied to the state to operate a fully facility-based ambulance service. By January of 2026, there are 2 transportation aid positions in the proposed budget. And number 3, we are currently in the demolition phase of completing construction of our staff cafe. The cafe at Shaker Place will be a full-service cafe offering hot and cold meals, salad bar, made-to-order sandwiches, an upscale coffee bar, and other beverages. The cafe will be operated by our staff, and items will be offered at cost to our staff. There are 9 additional staff positions in the proposed budget for the staff required to operate the cafe 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Flowers.
Could you discuss any new initiatives you plan for next year?
It's primarily around recruitment and retention. We've done a lot of things over the last couple of years, which I think points to the success that we're having today. One of the initiatives, the cafe, is also geared towards recruitment and retention. It's something where, my office is right in the front of our building, and I see countless DoorDash deliveries coming in and out of the building. I know staff that are, making, not a lot of money, are paying a lot for their lunches, and us being able to provide that to our staff at cost I think is going to make a big difference. That and the ambulance program, I think are really the two driving initiatives for next year.
The ambulance program is fantastic. Are there any initiatives, though, for the residents? Any new initiatives for the residents that you have planned? The programs?
Yeah, the largest one is, we currently have a memory care unit in our facility. Our memory care unit is really no different than any other of the 5 nursing units, except the doors are locked. In next year, we plan to really elaborate on our programming for that unit. We don't really have much of a budget number for it yet. There will be some costs associated with that, some equipment that we'll have to purchase. We're going to be doing some remodeling of some areas in the building to make it more familiar to the residents and some of the settings that they would see out and about. But that I think would be our primary mission for this year is really focused programming for our dementia care unit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple things. You said you eliminated the use of outside agency staff.
Correct.
On the bottom of page 264, it's a line for temporary help. Is that something different?
Yeah, that several things in that line. One of the things, when we started our nurse aid training program this year, we originally requested a bunch of additional budget lines for the nurse aid trainees. We realized after we started the program that there's a lot of overlap, and it really restricted our ability to have one program after another because we had people in the nurse aid training program line, and at the same time we needed to hire the next group of people going through it. So what we did was we eliminated those individual lines, and they're now part of that temporary help line.
Now, on the overtime line, it goes from 2.5 million to 2 million, but I thought you said you were saving 1 million from overtime?
Between overtime and the temporary help line, combined.
Oh, okay.
$1 million savings.
Okay. All right, and the cafe food, is that cost to all of the workers, or and the residents, of course, are getting fed, but...
Sure, so the plan there is that we will sell the food, the meals to our staff, basically at cost. We still have to figure out, our food cost and what our overhead will be. And once we have that formula, then we'll start working on our pricing.
So it's be a revenue neutral cafe because of that policy?
Our goal is to break even.
Yeah, okay, good.
Provide a good service and break even.
Congratulations on getting rid of the outside help. I think that's going to improve things.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Ms. Rosano, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I do. As far as the new plans for the dementia unit or the memory care unit,
Yes.
will your nursing staff, your activities staff, and any staff that goes into that unit have special training?
Exactly. We have looked at 2 consultants, national consultants, that have this programming already kind of built into a training program that will be both virtual and on-site. We're kind of narrowing it down to choosing one or the other right now. It's not terribly expensive. We're probably going to go into another budget line for next year. But that is a prerequisite that they do get specialized training.
Will staff be able to choose to go to that unit, or will the staff that's already there basically stay?
They actually have that choice now, and that will continue. We want the staff on that unit that wants to be in that environment. At the end of the day, it's not so much different from the other nursing units. We have residents with memory care issues on all 6 units. The memory care unit is really more geared towards those that wander and could end up on the wrong side of the door at some point.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Chair, gentlemen. Can you go over the decrease in the retiree health insurance? I believe it's a little over $340K less than it was previously. That's on page 267.
I'm going to phone a friend on that one, Mr. Riley.
Get the real facts out of it. I thought I was done. So that is based on the bills that, the bills that we currently have, the estimates that we received from our outside consultants. We have to take a growth factor on that. Part of that is some of the initiatives that we've kind of gone through that you guys have passed on the legislative side with the new pharmacy benefits manager as well as an administrator. In several of the categories, we've seen some pretty significant savings so far the last couple of years, so that's part of that.
Thank you. And can you just go over the increase to the Assistant Director of Nursing Services? I think it's a 20.7% increase in the salary. That's on page 263.
Just get down to it here. So that line, that position was vacant for quite a while.
We also did increase it, there was a piece taken out of that to balance the
Right.
earlier.
So, yeah, what happened there is in the previous year, some money was taken out of that line because it was vacant for so long in order to fund another line. We have had someone in that line for this year. Unfortunately, she left us a couple of months ago, but we have just recruited someone else that is currently in that line.
Okay, and last question I have is, have you ever looked at housing a dialysis unit in Shaker Place and, looked at any costs on that you've looked at?
I know that was an early consideration, but the couple of things there that would make that really difficult right now is number one, I'm not sure we have more than one dialysis patient in our facility. So it wouldn't benefit necessarily our patient population that much. And to house that on one of the open nursing unit floors in the tower would require that we put a separate elevator to the outside for someone from the public to access the service up in that building. So it's not out of the question, but that's one of the biggest hurdles in making that happen. The other part of that is the transportation of dialysis patients to and from our center wouldn't be our responsibility, but that's generally something else that sometimes hampers those kind of programs.
Thank you.
All right, okay. Have any other questions? Ms. Lockhart?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Chairwoman, I'm sorry. Yeah, I wanted to ask about the Certified Nursing Aid Program, the training program.
Yes.
I think it's a great idea, and I know it's helpful with retention, but when the class that graduates, are they staying with you too? Or
Yeah.
don't you have enough data
So
yet?
we started it in March.
So it was just this
There
past
has
March?
been some turnover, but it's a little bit better than the turnover from someone from the outside coming in already certified. I think it's a little bit too early to tell right now, but at the end of the day, my experience in our environment is sometimes it's a numbers game. You recruit the 10 or 12, and a few months later, you have half of those, and you're going to recruit again.
So you would expect that training to continue, keep doing it, right? To keep-
Absolutely, absolutely. It feeds the beast, so to speak, because that
Okay.
turnover is there. Our turnover based on state and national numbers is a little bit better. When I say a little bit, I think the national turnover number for our certified nursing assistants is around 40%. We're around 36, 37%. So there's definitely room for improvement. I think some of the other programs that we're looking at will help with that.
And what is the starting pay for a CNA after they go through the training? I
After they go
assume?
through the training, I believe they're at $26 per hour.
$26 per hour?
Yeah.
And how is the daycare program?
Daycare program is going quite well. It was a slow start. It's currently full with a waiting list. But a lot of the participants are other county employees. We have about a third from Shaker Place. But we also now have a waiting list for Shaker Place. So our agreement with the daycare center is that every open spot, our staff get the right of first refusal before it's offered to another county department.
Good.
Gary?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is probably for Pam. Can you comment on the increases and decreases of your revenue from last year to this year? Like decreases, net availability of monthly income?
So, yeah.
It's your 1896 line.
Yeah, so that line and Medicaid line, some of the reason for a bit of a slight decrease there is our population is changing a little bit. We have a little bit less Medicaid population, and we've increased a bit in our private pay population. So as you see, the private pay numbers are going up a bit. We'll go up a little bit more next year with an increase. It's just a matter of bed availability.
So that applies to the HMOs also?
Correct.
Oh, okay. And so for the increases,
HMOs, there are no contracts out there that are going to be increasing any rates anytime soon.
man, they're having some trouble.
Our cost to insure our staff goes up, but to take care of people, it does go on our end.
Commissioning increases from 2,500 to 352,000. What's that all about?
Which one was that?
Your cafe.
It's
That's the
Oh.
commissions.
Yes,
$350,000.
that's the cafe revenue.
Oh, okay. And the VA hospice and miscellaneous payments, that's another one that's 319,000.
Yeah, again, it's just a shift in what we anticipate the census to be for next year.
They're going up, so they're more revenue. And the Medicaid Part A.
Medicare Part A.
Medicare Part A. That's a big one.
That, we do have an increase, so Medicare is increasing 3.2% for next year. It's actually started with the federal budget October 1st. That 3.2% is an increase in our rate for Medicare Part A patients.
What's the Medicare rate today for one, a bed?
It varies greatly. Our average right now is probably around between 600 and 700 a day.
600 and 700 a day?
A day.
For Medicare?
For Medicare. Those are people receiving therapy, wound care, higher level services.
That's almost as much as private pay.
It's more, actually. Our Medicaid rate, which is the majority of our residents, we're just over $300 a day.
Thank you. You guys are doing a great job out there.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Okay. Is it time to go home?
Yeah.
I just have a little one. If you're taking cookies tonight, you gotta let me ask this question. Do you currently have a waiting list for the nursing home?
Not necessarily a waiting list, so to speak, but we are generally full those days, even though our census does change on a pretty regular basis. Sometimes whether or not we have a bed depends on the care needs of the individual.
Okay.
You know, we may have a bed available tomorrow for the right care need person, but someone else who may need, advanced services or a dementia care unit, they're gonna wait longer.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question. All right.
No, thank you for the
So
cookies.
much.
You're very welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
Motion adjourned.
I got cake.